Hey everybody, how's it going? We're doing another Getting to Know series video here. This one's going to be talking about Sova, one of the agents in Valorant. He has four abilities and a role of Initiator. The role you can see and read here. But what Initiator means is basically he is designed to gather information so your team can engage in the most effective manner. So all of his abilities are going to be centered around that role. Starting with his E ability, which is his signature ability, if you will. It's called the Recon Bolt. And what this is if you come from an Overwatch background, it's very similar to Hanzo's Sonic Arrow. It's an arrow he shoots out from his bow and arrow, and it will bounce up to 2 times off walls and then stick into whatever surface it hits next. And then it sends out these pulses, like a sonar, and anyone that is within line of sight of the bolt at that time, you will see their location. Two important things to note about this ability. One is that line of sight thing I just mentioned. If the enemy doesn't see the bolt, you will not see them on the map, so they will not be revealed to you. Secondarily, uh, the bolt is able to be destroyed, so if an enemy does see it, they can actually shoot it and destroy it before it even emits its first sonic pulse. Now, obviously, if they do that, you still get some information, you know at least someone was there, but you don't get the benefit of seeing exactly where they were or potentially if there was more than even one person there. Alright, to demonstrate Sova's Recon Bolt ability, we're going to just kind of fire it around this hallway here so you can see how the bounces and the planting mechanic and the pulsing all works easily just on one screen. So to change the number of bounces that it will have, you right click, and that, if you look on the screen there, charges those little circles, and the bow also visibly changes. So with one bounce, it'll look like that, two bounces, and zero. So for starters, zero bounces, pretty straightforward. I'll fire it into this wall here. It just sticks immediately, and then you can see it's doing its pulsing. And that pulse, if it hits an enemy, will reveal their location to you. With one bounce, similarly, you fire it off a wall and you'll see it bounces once and then sticks on this wall over here. And again, does its same pulsing routine. And then finally, with two bounces, you can see it bounces off the floor, the wall, and then again sticks over here. So with all those options, there's a lot of creative ways you can use this ability, and really knowing the map geometry is obviously very important because there's a lot of ways where you can like bounce it off the floor, off the wall, and then have it go somewhere useful to you. So his E ability is very, very high skill ceiling because there's just so many different ways that you can use it on all of the maps and so many different angles you can send it to get really, really valuable recon information for your team. The second ability we're going to talk about is his Q ability called Shock Bolt. You can see it on the screen here. This is personally my least favorite of his abilities. It's not as useful for information gathering. It's more of a zoning and damaging ability. It functions similarly mechanically to his Recon Bolt, where it's again something he shoots from his bow and arrow. It's again something that can bounce up to walls, off of walls up to 2 times. But instead of sticking into the ground like the Recon Bolt does when you fire it, it just detonates into a shock pulse cloud on that impact. It does a decent amount of damage, not a ton. So it's really most effective as zoning and finishing a kill. If you know someone's hiding around a corner and weak, you can bounce one of these bolts around and finish them off without having to expose yourself to the line of fire. Okay, next we're going to demonstrate his Q ability, his Shock Dart. This one, again, like I was saying, it functions mechanically similarly to the E, where the bounces are, again, triggered with your right click. The bow visibly changes in the same manner. The reticule changes in the same manner. The difference with this being, instead of sticking and pulsing, it's going to explode into an electrical explosion. So, aiming at our dummy friend here, with no bounces, you can see it explodes on impact and does 90 damage. So, not quite enough to one-hit kill anybody even with no armor, but a significant amount of damage to kill an injured opponent. Similarly, with one bounce, See, it bounces, then detonates on him. Same thing, 90 damage. So the bounces do not take away from the damage. So again, very useful to hit someone around a corner without having to expose yourself to line of sight. And last but not least, if we go 2 bounces, same thing. That one wasn't a direct hit, so it only did 69 damage, but you see how it bounces twice and still detonates on the 3rd impact. And that is a good demonstration as well of, depending on how close they are to the center of the explosion, the more damage it will do. So while it can do 90 damage, more than likely you're going to do something more like 60 to 70 damage, because it does have a delay on the explosion. So you can, as an enemy, you can counterplay by running away fairly easily. Right, thirdly, we have his C ability, which is called Owl Drone. This is a little, quite literally a drone, if you think in like real life, like those little remote control drones. This is the same thing. It's a little drone that you can deploy and fly around with WASD and the mouse and navigate around the map. It does have a limited time, so you can only go so far. And you also have the ability with this drone to fire a dart. And if you hit an enemy with the dart, it will reveal their location for a few seconds. Um, Important to note that while you're in the drone, Sova, the character, is just standing still wherever you deployed the drone from. So you want to make sure you're in a pretty safe location, and maybe even have a teammate watching you while you're running the drone, just to make sure you don't get flanked and killed without even being able to defend yourself. The drone is one of his more useful abilities, certainly. It's great to navigate onto a point, around corners and stuff, clear corners without having to risk getting shot at. But it is also destroyable, similar to the recon bolt, where the enemy team can hear it coming and shoot it before you can shoot the recon dart, or even before you can really gather any meaningful information. So useful, but also easily counterplayed by the enemy. All right, the next ability we're going to demonstrate is his C ability, the Owl Drone. So this one, you press C and it brings up kind of this interface, and you can see down there, if I left click here, it will launch the drone. So when I launch the drone, I'm now controlling the drone. WASD moves you kind of relative to the mouse. The mouse basically pivots you like a turret, and then spacebar will take you up. I ran out of time because it does only have a few seconds worth of time and battery power. But if I launch it again here,
deploying drone.
Now we can see if I'm flying, I can shoot a recon bolt, which these targets are not taggable, admittedly, but I am able to fire a recon bolt. You only get one shot with the recon bolt, though, so you got to make sure you hit. And that's really all there is to the Owl Drone. It's a little drone that you can fly around, shoot a recon bolt at people, and gain valuable information. I can see all of this area without having to actually walk out here and risk getting shot at. So a very useful ability, but you have to use it in smart situations, and you have to be very decisive with that recon bolt, because you won't often get a very long window to shoot it at somebody. All right, and last but not least, we have his ultimate ability. This is called Hunter's Fury. This is like all ultimates, charged by gathering the orbs, getting kills, or dying during the match. And what this ultimate is he gets to shoot up to 3 times. It's a limited distance, but it is a long distance, and it penetrates through the entire map. So you can shoot through a wall, and if you hit someone, it will reveal them in a similar manner to the recon bolt, where you can see them for a short period of time. So if you hit someone, then you can continue to track them, and if you hit them twice, it's enough to kill them even with full armor. So it's a very useful ultimate. It's very good both for scouting, and you can easily either finish kills or get a complete kill at the start of the round if you know where they are. So it's very powerful. But again, when you're using it, you can't really move, and you can't cancel it and pull out your gun. You're stuck in that position. So you need to make sure that if you're using it, you're not going to be flanked by the enemy team, or you have a teammate watching you, because you are very vulnerable at line of sight attacks during that time. All right, and last but certainly not least is Hunter's Fury, his ultimate ability. That's the X down there that you can see. When you press this, he's going to scream at the top of his lungs, so the entire map knows it's coming.
I am the hunter!
and then you get 3 shots. And they have an animation like that. I only use 2 there because it does also have a time limit, so you only get 5-ish seconds to use all 3 shots. So you have to shoot them fairly quickly. You can't just sit around and not use them all. And as you can see on the bot there, I'll do it one more time. It does 80 damage per hit. So you have to hit someone twice to kill them, but if they are damaged, it's a good way to finish off a kill, especially if you know exactly where they are. And that's really all that there is to it. It's a very useful ability, but it does require good map knowledge of the way the map's laid out and also where the enemy is. So it's a really good in combination with something like his recon bolt, where you can fire it, see where they are, and then ultimate and kill them. And with that, that's getting to know Sova. That's his full kit. He obviously can use any of the guns, but those are his base abilities and how they function in some good situations to use them. So hopefully this video has taught you a little bit about Sova, and good luck out there giving him a try.